Section 2.2 is on ecosystem services. To put these in context, we have to talk about the value that ecosystems have. And this falls under the biodiversity topic because more biodiverse ecosystems provide more ecosystem services. But first, let's talk about how services fit into a value system. Ecosystems have three different types of values. We could consider them to have an intrinsic value, that they exist, and therefore they are valued independent of what we as humans want from them. So therefore we might have a moral obligation to protect them because they have their own needs and their own value. Intrinsic value is often part of religion or philosophical concerns regarding ecosystems. A second ecosystem value is resilience. So it's important to have diverse ecosystems so that they can, as it says here, address the needs of the future. So needs of the future, you can see them going on right now with COVID. Right, we have lots of different humans, and the more humans we have, more likely it is that we're going to be able to find some sort of resistance to COVID. So similarly, ecosystems, the more diverse they are, the more they can handle disruptions, whether it's an invasive species or a forest fire or pollution, things like that. The final value is instrumental value, and this is value in terms of goods or services that ecosystems provide to humans. So when we talk about ecosystem services, typically we're talking about instrumental values that they have to us. So there are four categories for this. The first category is provisioning services. And these are things that we use directly that are provided by ecosystems. So lumber is usually a common provisioning service, but anything else, food crops, fur, although fur is pretty terrible and probably should be outlawed. No value judgments or anything, but rubber is produced by plants. Honey is produced by bees. These are all provisions that humans use. Another service is regulating services. So regulating services are benefits that we gain that ecosystems create regulating processes. So nutrient cycles, water cycle, that kind of thing. So when you consider that phytoplankton plants remove gigatons of carbon every year, that's a regulating service that helps keep the carbon cycle going. Third type of ecosystem service is support systems. So these services are used to support the other three ecosystem services. So we've talked about two of those three right now, the provisioning and the regulating. But the provisioning and the regulating wouldn't happen without the support systems, right? So pollination, water filtration, pest control help keep other systems going. The final ecosystem service is cultural services. These often fall into aesthetic values, although sometimes they can fall into religious or philosophical values also. But any kind of tourism, often real estate, are considered cultural ecosystem services. So one thing to think about when you're talking about ecosystem services are what anthropogenic activities could affect these services negatively. Of course, pollution is an answer, but this is AP Environmental Science, so you're going to have to be more specific than pollution. But when you look at a lot of these different services, what are things that humans are doing that interfere with the production of these services? How does it interfere with provisioning, food or lumber? Regulating, what are we doing that's affecting temperatures or exacerbating flooding? What are things that are destroying cultural services provided by ecosystems? What are things that we're doing that are preventing the supporting services from supporting the other ecosystem services? So these are things that you should definitely put in your notes, right? As always, you need a good example of each thing. So for each ecosystem service, you need an example, specific example, and you need a way that humans are negatively impacting those services, ideally related to your example. That's it for section 2.2. Let me know if you have any questions.